hair grow.
The pure-blooded Saiyan's hair does not change from the day we are born, with the exceptions of beards and moustache.
Why am I doing this?
Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do, featuring the return of the moustache. We're doing wall-to-walls coverage of Vice President Harris's vice presidential pick today. By wall-to-walls, I mean, of course, from now until roughly when the letter hack starts, assuming we don't hear anything between now and then. Basically, I just want to jump on with y'all, talk about some local elections in my area, and wait for Pink inevitably to tell me when the news breaks. I'm going to check Google, Yahoo News, etc., periodically. But just being realistic about it, you guys always know about a full 15 minutes before I do. I don't know. What amount of time is an eternity in internet time these days? Anyway, that's what we're looking for. I think it's going to be Walz. Some folks who I consider wise political viewers tell me they think it's going to be Shapiro. That would not be great, but I'll tell you this. Even the worst of the picks that have been floated out there, even your Shapiros and your Mark Kellys, they're not terrible. They're fine. I mean, I understand the implications. After election is an entirely different animal than right now. But if we're talking running mates to avoid catastrophe, all of them are fine. The worst, the most dangerous of the choices is definitely Shapiro. The reasons being, you gain a lack of, you gain controversy because he's just not a very moral person. And this is a party, the Democrats, in which morality actually matters. He has the wrong instincts when it comes to morality. He appears to have participated in a cover-up of a Me Too scandal. There are worse things. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but there are worse things politicians have done, like, for example, being the subject of a Me Too scandal. But it's still not good. He's also... He called anti-Netanyahu protesters terrorists. That's not the direction this party needs to go. That sort of behavior should not be accepted via the vice presidential nomination. But compare him to J.D. Vance. Holy he didn't come out and just say, you know who I hate? Anybody who doesn't have kids. all the choices that are on the table are better than, as usual. They're better than what the Republicans have offered. So it's looking pretty good, but still, my hope is for Tim Walz. I will go into further detail in a moment, but first, let's say hi to the gang. Rex Trek, I like that lighting, Jake. Thank you. I kicked over my original light, shattered it, but I then set up my backup light, and I had the same thought you did. I'm like, oh, that actually looks, less is more in this case. It looks a little bit nicer. Rex Trek, it's decency. It's decency versus filth 2024. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The Republicans have Kramerized themselves into just madness. The anti-corporatist Brian Tyler Cohen's viewers are still pulling for Buttigieg. Yeah. All right, I'll give Mayor Pete this credit. He's a good public speaker. I think he's got problems, mainly in that he mimics Obama, like so many people do. And I don't even really blame folks for doing the Obama way of public speaking, because it's infectious. It's memorable. Sounds good on the ear. But the problem is, everybody knows Obama did it already. So they know what you're doing. You know, it makes you seem goofy. But he is a good public speaker, Mayor Pete. And I think that's an underappreciated talent. I think, for example, with Joe Biden, we just saw how an inability to communicate your thoughts can be a real hindrance, particularly in today's media landscape, where people, rightly, don't have a lot of time for nonsense. Problem is, he is I would call him a soldier for neoliberalism. He's like an old school Democrat, and I don't think that it's going to go over very well with people that need to be won over. Nina Canadian, being a mom at the moment, here to listen. Well, it's a pleasure to have you, Nina. Speaking of, it's not much of a transition, but you have Canadian in it, so I'm going to use it as an excuse. Speaking of, I hear tell that the weird vector of attack against conservatives has made its way over to Canada. Good. That is good. An actual cloud, well, I'll go into that in a moment. I just want to burst a bubble real quick. An actual cloud just got here. Is Walz the pick? No. We don't know the pick yet. I'm wondering if I should change the title. I was not trying to be misleading there. I do apologize. We're as the anti-corporatist says, we don't know yet, but we may know tonight. The Harris campaign has said that they will have the announcement by tomorrow morning, which means, it's likely to happen at any moment. It's very unlikely to happen at like 1 a.m, but it could happen right at the end of the news day. I have thoughts on that. I may go into them in a moment. But anyway, weird making its way to Canada. That's a good thing, because conservatives are weird all around the world. I give you Pierre Poliver. This guy is the kind of dude that glances over at the urinal. He's a weird little creep, and if you need to sum it up for regular folks, that's a great way to do it. Hey, speaking of that particular ability to communicate your thoughts well and to capture the political moment and to communicate a lot about the political landscape, in a concise way, Tim Walz is the person who came up with that particular attack. He's a huge part of the reason that the momentum is turning. I hope it's Tim Walz. Not just because he is closer politically to what I would prefer than the other candidates, although it's worth noting he is. Oh. No, I hope it's Tim Walz for, I think, the same reasons that he became closer politically to what I prefer. He understands America. He understands the cultural zeitgeist. He understands how people work. He would be an ideal VP candidate and vice president. Kamala Harris she's very personable. And that's good. Good. But if you pay attention to policy, in other words, you're a progressive, you are by default, a Democratic voter, but you don't always vote, statistically speaking. You see Harris with some suspicion. And rightly so. She is a centrist Democrat who has been accused frequently of being a leftist, which means she often behaves in that way that overcompensates and plays to the right-wing voters that will never select her. Tim Walz can smooth that over a lot. She's going to do that. You run to the center after you, in the last stretch of the race, basically. And VP Harris is going to do that. Tim Walz will be able to communicate to this crowd. Here's the deal. Here's the assessment of the ground game. Many of you will be familiar with this already. Shapiro, very popular in Pennsylvania. Incidentally, I know what she said, but the fact remains, Kamala Harris, tomorrow, speaking in Pennsylvania. I know, she said, this has nothing to do with my VP pick. Does it, though? Does it not? Shapiro, very popular in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a must-win state. It would make sense for her to pick Shapiro for that reason. On the other hand, a percentage of voters in every state will not vote for Harris if they think the war crimes will continue in Gaza. If she picks Walz, she essentially answers that question. It won't be a signal to the normies, who frankly do not pay attention. But it will be a signal to those people that do pay attention in all kinds of swing states, including 12% of Democratic voters in Michigan. We're going to talk more about Michigan in a moment. We got an election tomorrow. So in other words, she can do the difficult work of messaging to progressives through her VP pick without offending anybody else. There's nothing objectionable about Walz. There's only upside. Plus, again, I stress, he's the one that came up with that, with this new line of attack that is so successful. That Republicans are weird. It's internationally successful. My God. That's why I think Walz would be a great pick. That's why I hope it's Walz, even though Harris says she's going to Pennsylvania tomorrow. Okay. Let's talk Michigan after these comments. Pinkerbell says, never mind. Let me jump up. Let's see what Tom has to say. Tom Trask, good to see you. I like Walz because he's the kind of person I want in office. He took the slimmest of majorities in his legislature and got stuff done that helps Minnesotans. Yes, he certainly did. The anti-corporatist, I said that if he got the whoopsie-daisy, if he got the nod, I'd dance a jig, and someone said I should make it a waltz. Ah, yes. Rex Trek, Jake has such a 70s-esque vibe. That makes me very happy to hear. Pinkerbell, from the window to the walls, till the sweat drops down my balls. The election in Michigan happening shortly is worthy of note. Oh, dang it. And pardon me for a moment while I set this up. Because I goofed. Give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, gang. I have to re-post this Detroit Free Press articles. Articles? Why did I pluralize that? Doesn't even make any sense. Okay. Now ask me if I want to join the Detroit Free Press, get a subscription. Not on OBS, please and thank you. And we're good. Okay. Let's record this. There is an election on August 6th in Michigan. I thought it would be helpful to discuss with you all my thoughts on this election, perhaps as a way to show the way I think folks can look at local elections, the importance of local elections, as well as I don't want to call them down ballot, but the greater effects this stuff can have for the country in general, even when it seems terribly specific. Here's what I'm talking about. The city of Dearborn. You may recognize it, oopsie daisy, you may recognize it from such things as, oh, that's painful. Such things as Mayor Abdullah saying that Joe Biden was effing up in Gaza, from being a district represented by Rashida Tlaib, various other sometimes national pieces of news coming out of this town. Tomorrow, they're voting on a charter. All around the neighborhood, I have been, it's a generous word, all along the nice neighborhood that's down the street from my wretched apartment complex, I've been seeing where I go to walk my dogs, because I don't have they don't care for the parking lot. I've been seeing signs from the Police and Firefighters Union saying vote no on the proposed charter. Well, that was awfully spishy to me. Wanted to see what's in this charter. Turns out it sounded spishy because it was spishy. Voters in Dearborn, this is from the Detroit Free Press, Niraj Wariku. God help me, I'm sorry, Niraj. You got a difficult... It's not that difficult of a name, I'm just not familiar with it. Anyway, Niraj, thank you for writing this. Voters in Dearborn will decide whether to approve changes to their city charter as the state investigates whether the commission that proposed the changes acted improperly in mailing flyers that urge residents to approve it. On the Dearborn ballot in next week's August primary election, voters can choose to approve or reject changes to their city laws proposed by the Dearborn Charter Commission, a 9-member body elected by voters, please note that, in November 2021, that has been discussing the changes for 2.5 years. The city revises its charter, which acts like a constitution, every dozen years, if approved by voters. Thing number one to note, even though it is not immediately obvious what this charter does, behold, it's a big deal. Imagine if in the United States we amended the Constitution once every 12 years. It's that big, but for a city as opposed to a country. When are they voting on it? In the primary. In the primary. Gang, go to every election that you can. There is usually, not always, but usually something like this. Major changes to your life happen all the time, and you have opportunities to participate in them all the time. And so rarely does anybody actually choose to participate. Tomorrow's an opportunity for Dearborn. The fundamental way in which our city operates is going to either change or not. And it's in a primary. An official with the Secretary of State's office told the Free Press that the Bureau of Elections will investigate a complaint that the Charter Commission violated its rules by using public money to create and send out flyers that read, "Paid for by the Dearborn Charter Commission." Last week, the Bureau mailed a letter to the Commission notifying them that they are looking into an ethics complaint, followed by Gary Warrenchak, a Dearborn resident who is a former state house representative and former Wayne County commissioner who was once chair of the county commission. Pause. I don't recognize Gary Warrenchak. I would assume, based on what he is complaining against, that he is a conservative. But I want to be clear. I agree with him here. I think that complaint makes a lot of sense. I don't like the idea of the government using money to sway your vote one way or the other. It does not matter that I happen to support the changes proposed in this charter. By the way, if you are in Dearborn and you are watching this, I'm going to give you my pitch for it, but I highly recommend you do vote to approve these changes. Separate from that, though, the behavior of the commission in mailing out something that said, go vote this way or that. Against that. I can confirm that the Bureau of Elections has received a complaint regarding the alleged violation of the Michigan Campaign Finance Act and will investigate. Angela Benander, Director of Communications and Media Relations for Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, told the Free Press in a statement, "I won't be able to provide any additional information." Okay. Here is what the changes proposed. The proposed changes include removing minimum staffing requirements for police officers and firefighters, which has prompted some Dearborn police and fire unions to urge residents to vote no on the proposal. Pause there. I think that is a bad call on their part. Minimum staffing requirements do not mean the staff will be removed. It simply means we are not required to have a certain amount of people, regardless of need. But frankly, I think that is the least consequential part of the proposed changes for that reason. Because again, it would not actually result in any tangible changes. It would simply remove the need to fill positions based on population. Here's where it gets interesting. Other changes include increasing the diversity on city boards and commissions, an important topic in a city that is more than 54% Middle Eastern. I want to point out the largest Lebanese population anywhere outside of Lebanon. Revamping the city's ethics board that currently includes the Corporation Council and Human Resources Administration to a board whose members are approved by the mayor and city council. Requiring city employees and elected officials, here's my big one, to disclose financial conflicts of interest. Pause. Pin in that. Returning to it in a minute. Protecting the health care benefits of retirees, awesome. Improving the civil service system to ensure best practices for hiring and promoting skilled people. Returning to the financial conflicts of interest. Do you recall the other day when I was talking about how Republicans are Republicans at all levels of government, and how I have seen in local governments, you will get a conservative in power, and suddenly their friends that own construction companies get all the construction contracts. Suddenly, if there is an art installation needed in some place, it just so happens a piece of terrible art goes up, and the artist is a friend of somebody on the city council, and that person is a Republican. Yeah. This will help prevent that. It doesn't, to be clear, it doesn't only happen with Republicans. It's just that's the party of criminals, so of course it gets the most criminal behavior. But it does happen with Democrats as well. It does indeed. In fact, it happens more often with Democrats on a local level than it does with Democrats on the national level. But that's true of Republicans as well. Let's talk about this on the other side. So you see, gang, all I'm trying to talk about with you here is that local elections matter. They result in big changes. They have massive effects on your life. In fact, they generally have more effects on your life than national elections do. It makes more sense economically for big news agencies to talk about national issues so they can get a big, broad audience. Makes more sense on the internet, too. Big, broad audience. Talk about national stuff, world stuff. There's financial incentive to do that. But in terms of what your actual life is like, local elections are the main thing. Participate in those. Participate in every election that you can, and the world will become more like how you want it to, assuming you're voting for progressives. Okay, in between segments, I'm going to do my first Walz Street check. Gang, what's a Walz Watch phrase that we can use? Harris VP announcement. No announcement. Oh, CBS News 10 minutes ago. Oh, darn it. Kamala Harris campaign expected to announce VP running mate Tuesday morning. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign is expected to officially announce her running mate. This is on CBSNews.com. Article written by Aaron Navarro, Nancy Cordes, and Weijia Jiang. Tuesday morning, followed by a campaign video that will be released before their Philadelphia rally the same day, according to multiple people familiar with the selection process. All right. Politico first reported on the campaign's plan. CBS News has learned Harris is selecting her running mate based on qualities President Biden believed were important when he chose her 4 years ago, which he has called the best decision he has ever made. Good man. She's looking for a governing partner who has the experience to step into the job and be effective immediately, and who is qualified to be president. That does not narrow it down at all. The VP pick is expected to share Harris's values of fighting for the middle class, protecting democracy and freedoms. Interesting. Treating people with respect and dignity. Because of Gaza and the sex scandal. I am reading too much into it, but I think those are two knocks against Shapiro. And creating an America where everybody gets a fair shot. All of that stuff, very Walz positive. Also worth noting, Biden really got along with Tim Walz. Specifically, they said that they wanted, the Biden staff said they wanted Walz around more because it brightened Joe Biden's demeanor whenever he was around. Harris's expected announcement will come about 2 weeks after President Biden ended his re-election campaign, prompting the Democratic Party to quickly coalesce around the vice president on Sunday. Harris interviewed the top contenders to be her running mate, including Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Arizona Senator Mark Kelly in person in Washington. She also met with other candidates in person and virtually. In 2020, Mr. Biden announced his selection of Harris as his running mate with a text message. Christ. A majority of Democrats... I forgot about that. I don't like that I'm seeing on this thing that I'm reading, and y'all can't see, hair loss medication advertisements. How does it know? A majority of Democratic delegates has already voted to select Harris as the party's nominee. Okay. All right. So according to CBS... likely tomorrow morning. The majority report's going to be fascinating tomorrow morning. Afternoon. They start at 12. Fuck. Could yet be tonight. I don't know why it would be, but it could be. We have other local stuff to talk about. Let's have a gander at what the Wicked community's saying. Wicked, Foxy Dragon, good to see you, my friend. I'm going to throw up a little emoji here with a heart. Yeah. An actual cloud. Elections are one with negative partisanship. The GOP called the Democrats evil all the time. Maybe not great for the 0.5% of people who don't know who to vote for, but it activates the base. True. Pinkerbell, I don't think it matters what is said in this PR piece. They are going to say generic platitudes about whoever. Yeah. I mean, the main thing that was important in that article was that all sources were saying tomorrow morning as opposed to tonight night. Wireless Mike, good to see you. Public Utility, good to see you. Public Utility saying, no Emma, no thanks. Oh, oofa doofa. Wicked Foxy Dragon, I live in a valley, a desert valley. There is not supposed to be enough water here for it to be humid, and for 45 years it hasn't been. Why all of a sudden it thinks it can do this to me? I just could not figure out. Oh, buddy. I'm sorry, man. That sucks. Oh. The anti-corporatist. Did any of you see that thing about the Working Families Party? I really like what their executive director had to say on Mark Lamont Hill the other night. And so did Mark Lamont Hill. I will have a gander. Pinkerbell, like, why is this even news? An announcement that there will be an announcement. Oh, for the same reason I read it. For this moment right now. For the political nerds who are champing at the bit to find out. We want to know. It's just curiosity. It's healthy curiosity, I think. Perhaps it's more accurate to say it's curiosity that comes from a healthy place. It comes from an interest in this political race. But it's candy still. It's just because we want to know. I want to know badly. That CBS article was definitely the reason it had all those names on it is because there's a bunch of people in their newsroom right now who are sitting around waiting for news of this and updating the article. And whenever, like, they all have access to it in their little editing system. I don't know why little is there. In their editing system, they'll all have access to it. And anybody who does make a change, even if it's like, update, VP Harris said no updates for the next hour. They put their name in the byline. I used to do that all the time. But you're right, it's not news, not really. It's just, It's only news for tonight. Snixabia. If you live in a humid climate, stock up on Selsun Blue and Head and Shoulders. Use it as a body wash. Interesting. Pinkerbell, I want to know too. That's why I'm annoyed that we don't know yet. Yeah. We're fucking dorks, man. I swear to you, there is nobody else on earth who pays closer attention to politics than I was going to say than U.S. lefties, but I'm going to hedge my bets and just say lefties. Lefties are obsessed with politics, and rightly so, but fuck, man, it does result in moments like this. It's like Marvel fans with movies for the last 10 years. Okay, got another local one for you that I want to talk about. Let's jump to it. Wait a minute. Not yet. I didn't load up the right... Twice in a row I did this. I want to talk about Shakira Hawkins. Man, I probably could have had her on the show. Jake, what are you doing? Should have invited her to come on the show. I know I'm a small show, but good God, this is a small race. Oh well, next time there's somebody running for such an office right down the street from me. What am I doing? All right. We're talking Michigan's 13th district, a.k.a. the Fightin' 13th. Michigan's 13th district, a.k.a. the Fightin' 13th. It's solidly blue. That means that the primary tomorrow will basically be the election. And that also means we have wasted our time with Shri Thanadar. I have been following Shri Thanadar professionally, as in I've been paid to follow this guy's career for his entire career. I was reporting in WDIV when he first ran for Local 4, and from there I was at stations where statewide politics was part of my purview. The dude is the least genuine human being you will ever meet. He was he was making appeals to MAGA when he first started and far-right politics because he thought that's where the momentum was. It didn't work out for him, and so he switched to being Bernie. Yeah, he's that fake. Now look, I don't care what you are in your heart of hearts, but Shri Thanadar basically bought his office. He was a rich guy coming into the race. See if this sounds familiar. Rich guy with fake hair, and not really fake, but ridiculous hair, who bought his way into the race, said whatever he felt he needed to say to get in office, and then basically appeased centrists. If you're a big Napoleonic era fan, he's like the British were in terms of their officers back in the day, where you could earn the title of an officer by some extraordinary act on the battlefield, or more normally you just bought the position. That's what Shri Thanadar did. So essentially, in one of the bluest districts in the country, we have used it to send somebody who is already rich out to go try to take down the system that supports the rich. It is a disaster. But we have an opportunity to redeem ourselves coming right up. Why do I have going out up here? Oh no, what have I done? Oh, that'll work. Getting rid of this. Sorry, Bridge, Michigan. So here's the deal. I'm just going to go off the dome here for a moment. Here's the deal. We have 3 people in this race. That's a problem. Person 1, Shri Thanadar, the incumbent. He's a rich guy. He is a neoliberal. He is not what we need in the Democratic Party. He is not what we need in politics. He's not as bad as a Republican, let me be clear. Oh, God, I just did the Obama thing. Let me be clear. There, nerded it up. He's not as bad as a Republican, but he's certainly no progressive. Other gal, Mary Waters. She's a Detroit city council person. She has a corruption scandal. She pled guilty to charges involving, basically corruption. It's not that interesting of a story. Basically, there was a pawn shop that was for sale, and she pled guilty to, I believe, using her position to affect that sale. Will it surprise you to hear that she's a bit of a centrist? Okay. Also not something we need. Because, again, whoever wins this primary is virtually guaranteed to win the election. This is Michigan's 13th district. This is a Democrat voting district. So who do we have to represent the progressives? My personal pick, and I definitely recommend that you support her, Shakira Hawkins. Shakira Lynn Hawkins says her lack of experience may be an asset in a 3-way race to represent Detroit in Congress. Pause. Lack of experience in elected office? Maybe, but not in politics. The attorney for, or rather not in activism, I suppose. You'll see in a moment. She was a public defender. The attorney for Detroit's law department and former director of a domestic violence shelter is challenging incumbent U.S. Representative Shri Thanadar, Democrat from Detroit, and City Council member Mary Waters in the August 6th Democratic primary. More eyes are on Water and Hawkins after former state senator Adam Hollier, a contender with the strong name recognition, fundraising, and an army of surrogates, was disqualified from the ballot. Hawkins has a short window left to raise her profile before early voting starts in July. Jumping down, because obviously this is later. The winner in August would become a clear favorite in the November general election, obviously. Hawkins is a Detroit native, East Side resident, and graduate of the University of Michigan, that's in Ann Arbor, and Detroit Mercy Law School. Guess where that is. Prior to her current role in the city's law department, she worked as a hearings officer for the Department of Appeals and Hearings. She was a public defender and also served as executive director of My Sister's Place, a domestic violence shelter. Hold on to your butts, because this is where she gets... this is a paragraph before she gets very, very interesting. Is it? Oh, never mind. They ask questions in a moment. She ran for a nonpartisan judge seat in Wayne County. Actually, none of this is the interesting. Here we go. So they're asking her questions. They ask her, how did you decide to run for Congress? She talks about seeing things as a criminal defense attorney that made her want to change the system of justice, which she found to be unjust. What are the policy... Here we go. Progressive catnip. What are the policy issues that are most important to you? What have you heard from voters as you've been campaigning? It's important that this is Hawkins speaking, it's important that we have strong voices in Congress because democracy is under attack. Thank you for acknowledging it. We cannot give fascism and authoritarianism a foothold in our government. True. I will be fighting just like I fought for the constitutional rights of my defendants. I want my son to enjoy the privileges of what it is to be American. And here we go. We need to address climate change and environmental justice. there's a need for legal reform. I'm in favor of reproductive freedom, and I think we need universal health care. Gang. If you are in favor of universal health care, cross your fingers and hope that Michigan's 13th district comes through for you tomorrow. I would like to be part of the solution when it comes to ending gun violence and bringing about common sense gun legislation. Bada boom. I also want to protect Medicaid and Social Security. There's also a need for reform in the area of disability rights. I don't have the attention the other candidates have. I do feel like I have a very strong grassroots support. That's not something we're going to see until Election Day, and I hope it's there. But I've been reaching out to community members. Those who are closest to the problems are closest to the solution. Ooh, what in the world? Okay, well, I suppose I'll leave it there then. Oh, it did load. Well, that's our gal, Shakira Hawkins. Another race with, in this case, national implications, but major implications for the people that are voting for her. It is a primary. Vote every time you are given the ability to vote. Take advantage of it. Every single time you have an option to say how your government should be run, take that option. If she wins tomorrow, that is one more vote for universal health care. Now look at your own state. Google your address and when the next election for anything is. And there is a chance that in that election is a vote for universal health care. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. Public utility. Unfortunately, as things stand, the SCOTUS will kill any progress. Maybe. It all depends. How are things going to stand when that change happens? Will we have a packed court by then? What happens if the obvious votes for universal health care appear in Congress? What if suddenly there is a majority of people in Congress, in the House and the Senate, that want universal health care? What if this bill, you fill in the blanks with what ifs and imagine how the situation will react. If that bill was suddenly passed right now to establish universal health care for Americans, would the Supreme Court knock it down? Maybe. Maybe they'd be so terrified of losing their positions of power that they wouldn't try. It all depends. But never, ever, ever let them beat you before the fight even began. Because that's how the Republican Party has survived for 30 years after it should have died. Is Democrats defeating, or not even Democrats, left voters defeating themselves before a fight. And I'm not trying to get on you. I get what you're saying. I understand you're also speaking to a crowd of people that has a deeper understanding than the average American. I know. I'm just saying, for those who might be listening, don't fall into that, because it'll dispirit you unnecessarily. If Hawkins gets in, that's one more vote for universal health care. That's also one more voice pushing us towards that direction. Potentially huge. Fifth Federal District killed more of the Voting Rights Act, says Public Utility. My heart breaks. Yeah, that sucks. Donald James X, if Kamala wins and also has the House and Senate, I'd say hell yes, expand the court. Yeah, absolutely. Selena Mary, good to see you. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I love your thumbnail. I am a Daria fan. Jane was the coolest of that group. Donald James X. What? That's right. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be huge. Yes. Yes. Nina Canadian. Michigan could be so progressive. The purple state beside Ontario that should know the contrast in standard of life. Yeah. And fuck's sake, man. Michigan really was unfairly represented for the last, I guess I can't say that anymore, but from 2018, from 2000 to 2018, Michigan was unfairly represented. It was demonstrated that despite how they voted nationally, like something being like a 50-50 state, it was 80% or some similar thing Republican locally. And that has, I think, a cultural knock-on effect. But we fixed the gerrymandering, and suddenly it's Michigan House, all Democratic. Michigan Senate, all Democratic. Governor, Democrat. Secretary of State, etc., etc. Represented entirely by Democrats. And by the way, people have been happy with it. Satisfaction for government has skyrocketed since Democrats just swept. Wait a minute. I gotta look up Dana Nessel. Speaking of. There's Dana Nessel news that I forgot to put in the what do you call it? Description. Do you remember when Twitter used to be run well? Here we go. News from the States article by John King. Nessel files brief to keep Michigan abortion regulations on hold. Michigan Attorney General Dana... This isn't even the one I was talking about. Michigan Attorney Nessel... Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel has filed a brief seeking to block an appeal of the preliminary injunction that paused 3 long-established state abortion regulations, including a 24-hour waiting period. The injunction barring the enforcement of these select provisions is proper, as the court correctly agreed the challenged laws are likely unconstitutional, said Nessel. I remain committed to defending the reproductive freedoms Michiganders deserves and emphatically support enshrining it in our state constitution. Love Dana Nessel. But that's not even what I was talking about. There's another Dana Nessel news. Anyway, gang, the point I was trying to make, the broader point, is that local elections, statewide elections, have a massive impact on your life. I'm going to find this mother. Oh gosh. I'm gonna do the dire thing of researching, or searching again, I should say, and looking through press releases. Oh, for fuck's sake. Hold up, gang. I have not poured through press releases in a minute. Canton residents charged with defrauding Amazon of over $50,000. Fascinating. Florida man pleads guilty to conducting a criminal enterprise in multiple Michigan counties. Fascinating, but not relevant to y'all. Here we go. Baxter to stand trial for perjury following Unlock Michigan campaign finance investigation. Alrighty. Bear in mind, this is the... Okay. Well, bear in mind, this is the Attorney General's press release. So it's what she wants the press to know about what's going on. And yada yada, be suspicious of cops, yada yada. But it is the information we have at present. Or the information, rather, that I was able to find at present. Here we go. Got another Michigan story for you. This regarding Dana Nessel. It is, first of all, I am let me be real about my bias here. I am a massive Dana Nessel fanboy. To a lesser degree, I'm a fan of the Michigan trifecta. That is Governor Whitmer, Secretary of State Jocelyn Bedson, Attorney General Dana Nessel. These three folks have turned our state around. Before they got into power, the thing that everybody knew about us was Flint. A state that was so incompetent that it could not provide water to its citizens. Basically, the simplest thing that you have to do as a government. Incapable of doing that. That's because before them it was run by Republicans. But Dana Nessel has been particularly good. I want to see more attorneys general who have actual ethics in their lives, who are actually decent human beings, who actually give a damn about the people they're in charge of enforcing justice for. I guess that's what I want, is attorneys general who actually care about justice. Dana Nessel's one of them. Pray that she replaces Merrick Garland soon. Here's the most recent Dana Nessel news. From a press release from the Attorney General's office, Baxter to stand trial for perjury following Unlock Michigan campaign finance investigation. Today, in the 54th A District Court in Lansing, Judge Kristen Simmons, oh, by the way, side note, if there's a fourth person in that trifecta, if you do, I guess, a quadfecta, it's Bridget McCormick, the Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court. Also a fascinating person and a force for good in our state. Baxter was... here we go. Today, blah, 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 blah. Judge Kristen Simmons bound Sandy Baxter, 64, of Caledonia, over to stand trial in the 30th Circuit Court in Ingham County, that's where Lansing is, announced Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel. Baxter was charged in February with one count of perjury, a 15-year felony for lying while under oath during testimony to state prosecutors and special agents investigating an alleged fundraising scheme to fund the Unlock Michigan ballot question initiative. In May 2021, Robert LeBrandt filed a complaint with the Michigan Department of State's office alleging a dark money scheme to use Michigan, My Michigan, a 501c4, to fund the Unlock Michigan ballot question initiative in violation of the Michigan Campaign Finance Act. The Department of State referred blah, blah, blah. They launched an investigation to a fundraising consultant accused of let's see. Let me see if I can get us a slightly more a little more explanation on this Unlock Michigan campaign. Okay. Unlock Michigan, according again to the complaint, the complainant Robert LeBrandt, alleged violators Michigan Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility. Michigan, exclamation point, My Michigan, and Unlock Michigan. Okay. Unlock Michigan is not a spontaneous grassroots efforts to repeal the law granting a Michigan governor emergency powers. Unlock was conceived by Senator Mike Shirkey to achieve his political goal of repealing that law, a plan executed by his agents under his direction and control and funded with his dark money. Shirkey's scheme involved the illegal use of dark money on a scale never before seen in Michigan, as millions of dollars in dark money was raised and spent. Quick note in the column here, as used herein, dark money refers to funds not usually subject to disclosure under the MCFA, Michigan Campaign Finance Act, I suppose. Millions of dollars in dark money was raised and spent. The abuses of dark money by Unlock Michigan, Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility, and Michigan My Michigan are a violation of the Michigan Campaign Finance Act, which should be investigated and punished. So in other words, if you remember way back, when the government was acknowledging that COVID-19 is a thing, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer used her emergency powers to do emergency things. Like, say, there's a quarantine, and you gotta wear masks in public, and yada, yada, yada. Well, Republicans cannot help themselves but to try to get people killed where possible, to try to make life worse for everybody whenever they can, to try to generally be agents of things that are harmful to humanity. That's what a Republican can't help themselves but to be. Try not to spit anymore on camera. No, that's the Republican way. If there's a disease killing humans, they will be on the side of the disease. Well, Mike Shirkey was one of them. No, in all seriousness, they will make a political issue out of anything, including a disease. And when the lefties of the world try to do things that are of use, like fight the disease, Republicans will find a way to turn it into a political fight. Well, afterwards, it was discovered that maybe this wasn't an entirely legal fight. And Sandy Baxter, the Caledonia resident, lied. One of Shirkey's henchmen, essentially, appears to have lied in court. We don't know if that's true yet. It hasn't been decided yet. But the broader picture for all you guys who are mostly not in Michigan. This is what happens when you have an attorney general who is progressive, who is part of a democratic administration. This is what happens when you have law enforcement put in power by people with actual ethics. You are probably so used to Republicans and rich people just being let go for crimes that it doesn't even occur to you that there ought to be legal solutions for a lot of what's happened. How about your state? Are you in one of the 7 states where fake electors were present? Are you in Arizona? You have an opportunity to throw their asses in prison because they broke the law. That's a statement of fact. They broke the law. Get yourself an attorney general with an interest in justice. In this case, the attorney general had a Republican scumbag allegedly lie to them in court. Probably expecting the normal Republican treatment, which is if they get caught, they get you're not, all right, on your way. Instead, what's she doing? No, that's perjury. You're going to get treated the same way as the guy who we found an eighth of an ounce of weed in their car is going to get treated. Or a thimbleful of cocaine. If they lied in court, they would be treated harshly. So will you. There's a charge just for the lie on top of the thing that you were trying to lie about. That is the power of having a left-leaning, or rather, I guess I should say, an attorney general appointed by a lefty. It matters. All the ACAB folks, I understand what you're trying to say. But just consider, there's another angle to be had here. And even if you're not interested in the street level enforcement, which that's understandable, do consider that positions like district attorney, attorney general, these things have massive implications for whether or not we live in a just system, for whether or not Republicans are allowed to keep getting away with the behavior that is both illegal and standard for this organized crime organization. That was a weird way to put it. This crime organization. Hey, I got there. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. It's been all Michigan today, baby. I do truly love this state. I couldn't help but look up VP Harris again. I just gots to see it. I gotta look. All right. It looks like we're definitely, probably not going to hear today. Donald James. So the people have to choose what side they're on because the side that wins has enforcement power. Yes. Donald James, I'm rooting for Michigan. Thank you. Anti-corporatist. Is Nessel progressive? All I know is that she's liberal and, as far as I can tell, honest. It's hard to say because the Attorney General is not really... it's a first of all, great question. Second of all, is she progressive in terms of her personal politics? Unquestionably, yes. Both she and her wife, actually, are... now I don't know if I'm remembering the correct spouse. Oh, well. Well, definitely Dana Nessel has come out and said straight up progressive things. But that's not necessarily it's not the same as like when a politician says that, because when a politician says that, they're saying, I believe in these laws, I'm going to try to make some laws like this. But that if you're a progressive attorney, like progressive voting attorney general, doesn't necessarily track that you're going to be a progressive acting attorney general. That said, I'm just being abundantly clear here. That said, she is the sort of attorney general that a progressive would love. She does not hesitate to go after powerful people that break the law. She does not hesitate to go after rich people that break the law. I was furious on this channel about a year ago that she wasn't going after Trump, for example, when he broke the law, or appears to have broken the law with the fake elector scheme. But she is one of two attorney generals that actually pursued the fake electors themselves. In other words, she is willing to treat everybody equally under the law. And what that normally means is somebody is willing to treat all poor people, regardless of skin color, equally badly under the law. But for her, no, it means it does not matter if you're rich or poor. It does not matter if you're powerful or not. If you break the law and she finds out about it, she's going to come after you. Also worth noting, she does not really seem all that interested in harassing women over their bodily autonomy. And that, for me at least, that's a big deal. Because I think basically one of the darkest things that's happened in American history is the U.S. government, for what I hope is a brief window of time that we are currently living in, said that, yeah, you don't have a right to your own body. Yeah, what goes on in there? I get to decide. That's fucked up, dude. So I'm glad that even just on general principle, aside from the real world consequences, which also make me want to be pro-choice, just on general principle, I'm glad that we have an attorney general that is not interested in giving the state the power to dictate what happens inside your own guts. BC Clarity Martin, good to see you, my friend. Cheaters are also potential perjurers. In Trump's case, there is a realized potential, undeniably. Yeah. Wireless Mike, okay, I'm back. Had to take the pup outside. Excellent. What kind of pup? Do let me know. Need a Canadian. I stopped visiting Michigan when that orange president was in office. Miss you guys. I miss you too. Seriously, man, I miss Canadians. There was a family called the Stewarts, which moved to Brighton, Michigan when I was living there, and they opened a chain of Tim Hortons donut shops. And you might be thinking, well, that's not very Canadian, or that's not very representative of Canadian whatever. It's a great inroad. It's a great gateway Canadian food place, because I got real fond of the Timbits and the coffee, and that eventually led to me trying lovely things like poutine, and I just can't thank them enough. So thank you, Stewart family, for opening the Tim Hortons in Brighton. You can come back. We got a Democrat in office, at least for now. And if you come to Michigan, it's run entirely by lefties. At least for now. My old drinking buddy, says Wireless Mike, lives in Michigan now. I haven't talked to her in years. Yeah. That sucks, man. Say hi. For sure. I'm thinking about the wisdom of that. Say hi if you're still genuinely friends. I don't know if she fucked you over or something. Paker Bell, Timbits are a gateway drug. Yeah. Yep. And it leads to, Donald James X credited here, the poutine routine. I'm not gonna embarrass myself. I will defer to my good buddies at the True North Eager Beaver podcast for their poutine expertise. But I've had it. It's good. I don't know why we don't have it in the States. Probably because we can. I mean, it'd be like if you live next door to China and then you're trying to make Chinese food. Like, just go to China. You live next to Italy. You want some spaghetti, just go to Italy. If you live in, France or whatever, you don't need to open an Italian restaurant. You drive. Get an old Italian grandma to make you the good stuff. Wireless Mike, he's a blue tick beagle mix. He's 12 going on 13 and can't go up and down the stairs on his own anymore. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But blue tick beagle, what a sweetheart. But he's got big old floppy ears and enjoys a good pet. And also, beagles have such good noses. I bet he gets a lot of joy out of just smelling things. Take him places where he can smell around, and he'll have a hoot. Wicked Foxy Dragon. That sounds even more naughty. Public utility. What's the bag limit on deer these days? I don't know, but Michigan is a place where hunting is a necessity. As in, we need a certain amount of people to have an interest in hunting, because otherwise you get overpopulations of deer, and then you get environmental consequences, which are nightmarish and also get people killed. human beings die if hunters don't go out and cull the population down to certain numbers. My point being, I don't hunt, but that's not me bagging hunters. I am appreciative of it. I just don't have any expertise on the matter. Donald James. There's a special place in Jake's heart for puppies. That's 100% true. The letter hack. Just need more wolves, dude. You say that. Oh, man. I say it till you're hiking. No, actually, I think... to be continued. My nature conservation muscles need to get worked out a bit. Let us, because we got the letter hack on in 24 minutes. Sarah Leela, good to see you. Pinkerbell, it's the same way here with wild hogs. Yeah. Although you guys have those rad chopper hunting expeditions. Fuck. I would do chopper target shooting for sure. I will say this. I'm loading up YouTube because I want to watch a new channel with you guys. They don't really need the the boost, but I still want to show them to you. Oh. You know what? Never mind. Yeah, maybe I will. This is a this is a channel I came across literally earlier today. It's called Defiant Lawyers, and if you'll excuse me, I'm going to actually update my description when I put this in, because I do not want to forget to credit. That is I feel, an important thing to do. Is to, when you use other people's content online, to credit them. This is killing me. All right, give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. It's Defiant Lawyers, something, nullifying systematic racism. That's the name of the channel. They were talking about Project 2025. I think it's probably a good idea to look at this from different perspectives, including just how it goes after black folks. Like I feel like it's just sort of taken for granted that Republicans are coming after black folks, and that's true. They're coming after anybody not white, but we can forget to mention it, you know? And it's good for black folks to know that, but it's also good for, like, if your uncle ever gets to that point, you're like, what's so racist? Why does everybody say, oh, they're racist with the Republican Party? Be like, all right, well, specifically this. And that's what Defiant Lawyers is about to break down for us. The channel, new to this stream, but doing very well for themselves. Defiant Lawyers. They talk about Project 2025. It is not going to shock you. It's 2 lawyers, although in this video I believe it's just the one. They discuss all sorts of topics relating to U.S. politics. In this case, they're discussing Project 2025. Let's have a gander.
I put out my first video about Project 2025 over 7 months ago. And now people are just beginning to catch on how dangerous Project 2025 really is. Well, today I'm going to go deeper and show you how Project 2025 will unleash much more virulent, anti-Black racial discrimination. Stay with me.
Oh, that intro. It's a good intro, but this is what I want to see.
Hello, everybody. I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers, and each and every week we bring you at least one legal analysis of some trending story regarding politics, policies, personalities, or pop culture to empower you with the information you need to defy an unjust legal system. If that interests you, and I certainly hope it does, it really should in a day like today.
It does.
Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell so that you'll get notified when we upload one of our powerful and informative videos.
Or click the link in the
We're
description.
going to talk about how Project 2025 will unleash much more virulent, anti-Black racism. That's what I want to talk with you about today. Please go get a copy of my book, Education and Justice: How Public Schools Fail African American Male Students. I assure you, if your kid, your son especially, is in public schools, they are failing him in multiple ways that you probably don't even realize until it's too late. In this book, I tell you how they're doing this and what you can do about it. Also, we started, as you know, a program called BARS, Black America Reading Strongly. The program started June 1st, and already people have enrolled and registered their sons in this program, and it is doing well. Those young men are reading books, and their parents are excited, and we're excited at what is happening. Please, if you have a child, a son especially, that is not reading at grade level, go and register. Go to our website at lljp.org. Okay?
I think he talks about this in like every video he does. Also fine, also good. But tell me about Project 2025.
So go and enroll your child. Starting to get some traction. Hey everyone, I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Recently, I took a look at our analytics and I noticed something shocking. Many of you watch our videos and I believe you enjoy them.
I hate everything.
But you haven't subscribed.
Look, if you want to grow your channel, no worries about it. But come on, Project 2025, do it.
7 months ago. And now I understand, even last night, I didn't watch the BET Awards, but I was told that Taraji P. Henson actually told folks, because she was the host, I think, that they need to get up to speed on Project 2025.
All right. I know award ceremonies can be... Let me just get a thumbnail real quick. There we go. I know award ceremonies can frequently be discussing political stuff, but man, is it nice to hear that these days award ceremonies are talking about specific political things. There has been a version. I don't want to downplay what Project 2025 is because it's bad, but there has been a version of Project 2025 in most Republicans' campaigns. They're obviously always called something different, but it's like their plans for doing evil stuff. Project 2025 is just like the most blatantly fascist, but boy, if we would have had this kind of attention on what the Republicans were up to 20 years ago, right now we would have a Supreme Court that gave a damn about Americans.
Now, the problem with getting up to speed on Project 2025 is they have released a 932-page manual. That's almost 2 reams of paper. That's that thick, okay? Most people don't have the time to read something like that, and some of what you read is very legal, it's very technical, and most people probably couldn't understand some of it anyway. So I've taken it upon myself to go into the deeper parts of Project 2025 and share with you what I believe are the most problematic provisions for African American people in Project 2025. So what I want to do today is I want to share with you a little bit about something called disparate impact. Disparate impact. All right, so we're going to go and see exactly what disparate impact is and why it will definitely enable and unleash much more racial discrimination against Black Americans. So I say right here, the conservative movement has initiated Project 2025, a highly structured and well-financed campaign with an agenda that opposes democracy and civil rights. 7 months ago, I created my initial Project 2025 video when most people seemed oblivious to its threat. In the upcoming Project 2025 videos, I will explore in more detail and highlight particular dangers faced by African Americans from Project 2025. And the thing to remember about Project 2025 is that its policies have been around at least since the Reagan administration, because the policies were developed by this organization called the Heritage Foundation, again, which came into fruition in the early years of the Reagan administration. All right. And today that organization is led by this man, Kevin Roberts, Dr.
Okay. So you know it's a good channel when they tell you about the Heritage Foundation. You know it's a good channel when they talk to you about the shadowy mothers behind so much of this. It astounds me how these dudes from the Heritage Foundation could do what they do and never get talked about like they are what they are. Heritage Foundation is one group, Federalist Society is another. They are these far-right extremist groups which work behind the scenes to influence U.S. politics. But they don't do it like any other group. They're far-right, which means they're perfectly comfortable lying. But when they lie, when they say, there's a wave of trans people invading from other countries to steal your jobs and sexually violate them, they get repeated by traditional media. They get they get cited as legitimate sources, and they sound legitimate. They'll be like, a study by the Heritage Foundation. Oh, man. And average people think, I guess there must really be trans people coming to sexually violate my job because this very reasonable sounding group said that it's happening. And here's the newspaper using that group as their source. And they're repeating this story. So it must be a legitimate group. But in the United States, legitimacy is assumed when it's conservative, even though the opposite should be true. The more conservative a group is, the more you should be skeptical of what they have to say. And you can just look at U.S. history for why that is. That's not an unfair assessment. That's not an unfair thing. That's not an unfair way to operate. Because leftist groups have had the burden of needing to prove every single thing they have to say. Because nobody wants to do leftist things. Nobody in power wants to do leftist things. Conservative groups have been the opposite. They've just operated as excuses to do the things that conservatives want to do. They never get questioned. It's just assumed that what they say is correct. It doesn't matter if they're talking about communists hiding under the bed or skull shapes determining intelligence. If it's an old-fashioned, wrong-headed way of doing things, they get the head nod. The fact that he's talking about these folks is very, very promising for this channel as a whole.
Kevin Roberts, he's president of the Heritage Foundation. And what the Heritage Foundation did back during the Reagan administration was developed Reaganomics, if you will, developed sort of a Reaganism sort of approach to government.
You know, every time there's a financial disaster in the United States, it gets made harder on you because your tax money goes to people who already took more of your labor. It's already rich people. So you work hard. They sit on their butts all day doing nothing. But they get paid more because they own what they call the means of production. But with Reaganomics, it's even worse. You see, when these people gamble with the economy, like what happened with the 2008 financial crash, when they gamble with the economy and lose, they get bailed out. So they're not really gambling. All they're doing is playing a game where they either get richer or they get your tax money to bail them out of the problem they got in. That's Reaganomics. That's the trickle-down economics that has not worked for 40 years, and we're just now addressing it. This prick, a doctor somehow, is partially responsible for that.
And then dispersed those policies from Reagan's policies around to conservatives around the country. So what these folks intend to do is to institutionalize Trumpism. They want to make Trumpism the standard bearer for the conservative movement. And we see that taking place in the Congress, in the courts, in the Supreme Court. Just today, we got this immunity case down from the Supreme Court. I will be doing a video. In fact, I think I'm going to go live and talk about that. And by the time you get this video, I may have already done so. So just if you missed it, go and watch the replay of the live if I do it live. I think I'm going to do it live. So they want to institutionalize Trumpism, and they're using the Supreme Court now that they have 6 conservative members on the court. They're using Congress to the degree that they can, state legislatures, churches, and so on, to codify, if you will, to memorialize, to make Trumpism the standard for conservatives, whether he win or lose. So what they're trying to do is really dangerous, very dangerous. And I got many videos planned to explain to you exactly how they are trying to do this. And as I said in the opening, they are well-financed and well-organized and have been around a long time. So they know how to get their agenda done. And those who oppose Project 2025, we're not that organized, unfortunately. We're not that well-funded. And so typically they're able to get their agenda done because our opposition is not as effective as what they're doing. Well, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do my part. In fact, we're going to be introducing some merchandise soon so that you can start.
All right. I like this guy a lot. I liked, I was actually listening to a video of his while I was setting this up. So no hate there. But I also forgot that his videos tend to be a little bit longer. What I want to do is to look at his video on... Darn it. Let's see if it's still... It's in my watch later. I want to look at this guy's video on... it's called The American Bar Association Forms Group to Protect Democracy. I have no idea what he's talking about. But I want to see it. That's of interest to me. I like the way he talks about U.S. politics, as stated earlier. But I don't want to do the rest of this because it's another 15 minutes. And what I really want to do tonight is get on to the letter hack. Look. Oh, I got to not record that anymore. Oof, doofa. I want to get on to the letter hack. Because... Oh, mercy me. Because he's got an interview with a creator who works with his mama. I think that's interesting. I want to see it. Looks like there's no Kamala Harris VP pick yet. I will probably jump on for another live stream if she gives us a late night announcement. Ooh, she might is the thing. She might. I'll be here if she does. In the meantime, thank you for stopping by. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake, and this is Donald James X. Hey, Elaine. Oh, that's what you can do. That's what I should be saying. Oy vey.